Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Real Money, Real Business podcast. I'm Michelle, and today we have Dwayne on the show, who has just listed his business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. Hey Dwayne, good to have you on the show today. How are you?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Yeah, feeling good, thank you.
Well, I really want to thank you for making the time to come on today. I know that you've got a lot going on, especially with just listing your business for sale. And I'm looking forward to learning more about your business. But before we dive in, let's go over a brief summary of it. So it's an e-commerce business in the medical niche created in January 2020. The average revenue for the business is $39,318 per month, and it makes an average of $9,742 per month in net profit. So what we have included in this sale is a primary domain with all site content and files, a Shopify account, an unused secondary domain, supplier relationships, social media accounts and pages for Facebook and YouTube, and an email list with around 10,000 subscribers. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 61675 to learn more about this business. Or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So Dwayne, now let's turn it over to you. What can you tell us about your background in starting and running online businesses?
Okay, so originally as a job, in terms of my employment, I worked in software development. I was actually a quality engineer. So basically what that meant was I was around a lot of websites. I spent a lot of time testing websites, talking to customers about how to, improve their websites and just to make it, user friendly and just more usable for the customers, basically. So that's initially where I got my interest and my first foresight into online businesses. And then basically I took that learning from my professional job and ventured out and started creating my own websites using the skills that I gained through my employment.
Oh, that's really cool. So were you working mostly with e-commerce sites or content sites or a mix?
So it was a mix. So it was like content sites, but it was mainly e-commerce sites. So e-commerce sites such as ticketing sites, online bookings, yeah, those sorts of things.
That's really interesting. So what inspired you to start this particular business?
It came down to basically research, really. And I did a lot of research into what business to start. And my research basically led me to this business. It's a business which the customers have a great need for, and there's a big demand for it. And when they see the solution that I provide, they definitely like the solution. And well, it's basically the demand is high for the product when I put it in front of them.
That's great. So you've got a Shopify store that you run. What was it that attracted you to this sort of e-commerce model instead of going, let's say, with Amazon FBA or another e-commerce platform?
Yeah, so the main reason why I went via Shopify is because personally, as I mentioned, I've worked in e-commerce stuff, and what I do as well, part of my job was conversion rate optimization, which is basically just like increasing your conversion rates for your website. So that was my expertise. And you can't really do that on Amazon, so to speak, because, you're on their platform. So, you're sort of limited by what you can do. But creating your own Shopify site, I could virtually create my own brand, use all my skills and knowledge of, getting really good conversion rates. And also I could provide a more personal, informed service on my site rather than going via an FBA route.
Yeah, that really makes a lot of sense. You can really assert yourself as an authority in the niche with an independent site versus just kind of, I don't want to say riding Amazon's coattails, but a bit. I think it's harder to establish authority in a brand when you're using FBA. So that's a really good point. So now that you've had this, you've built it up for a little over 2 years, you're doing quite well with it. So why have you decided to sell it now?
So the reason I've decided to sell it is because I want to move on to something else, basically, really. I've been doing this business for over 2 years now, and it's a really good business, and I really did enjoy doing it. But personally now, I want to move into some other interests that I have personally. And for me, it's getting a bit hard trying to run these multiple projects. So this site that I'm selling now is the easiest to sell just because it's really simple to run. It's really clean in terms of the revenue model and how I'm selling it. So for me, that's the reason really.
All right. And so, if you're kind of looking at your journey building this business, what would you say was your biggest win since starting it? Is there something that worked so well for you that you would apply it to a business that you might start in the future?
Yeah, most definitely. So my biggest win with this business is to understand the customer's needs. And I know that I do that well just due to the conversion rates on my site, the amount of people coming to my site and the amount of people buy it. So the conversion rates on my site are really high. And I took a bit of time working on that. And that only came with, working with my customers, interviewing, checking out my Google Analytics, my Hotjar, copywriting, all of those come together. And in the end, it's testament because it shows in the actual conversion rates and the actual amount that I put in and what I get out.
I really like that. And Dwayne, every business comes with risks and challenges as well. So, what would you say was your biggest setback or challenge with this business?
So the biggest setback with this challenge was the same as a lot of other businesses, to be honest. And that was, managing my inventory over the last 2 years with COVID and, travel and delivery disruptions. So that was the biggest challenge in terms of being able to get enough stock in enough inventory in place to sell. So, over the last couple of years, just due to, as I mentioned, COVID, that's been my biggest challenge, just trying to manage my inventory.
Yeah, I think that's a challenge for a lot of people who get into the e-commerce space. It's difficult to do inventory forecasting. So how are people finding your listings? Are you using SEO? Are your pages optimized for that? Or are you doing PPC?
So my main traffic comes from Google Ads. I do get a small of people finding me via SEO, but the main traffic source is Google Ads.
And do you handle those campaigns yourself?
I do.
Okay. And so are you doing anything else in terms of marketing for your business?
Not really, no. So I just use Google Ads to get in the traffic, and then I use a simple Facebook remarketing advert to bring those customers back. And that's it, really.
And so what would you say are the major opportunities for growth with this business?
Wow. So there are a few major opportunities for growth with this business. And I'd say the first one is to market via other platforms. So as I mentioned, I use the Google Ads route just because the people are searching for a problem and I put my solution in front of them and it makes the selling process really, really quite straightforward. That's why I've done really well via Google Ads. But if you was to go via other avenues such as Facebook ads would be absolutely massive because the product that I'm selling is very demonstratable. So whoever has this problem, once they see a video of how it works, then it just makes sense. So it more or less sells itself. So I would definitely open up to Facebook ads, definitely open it up to YouTube ads. And so, yes, those are the marketing opportunities. And the other big opportunity is to market it in different regions. So at the moment, this business is only really being marketed in the USA, but it will do just as well in Canada and even almost better in Europe.
Okay, that's interesting. And if we can shift focus just for a second to your inventory and supply chain, could you walk us through what your supply chain currently looks like?
Yes, so my suppliers are in China, and basically all I do is I put in an order for around about 3 months worth of stock, and I pay a deposit, and then they make the product, and then once the product is made, I pay the rest of the amount, and then they send that product to my warehouse, well, my 3PL, fulfillment center, which is in Texas. And that's about it.
And how do they send the inventory? Is it by air or by sea?
It's by sea.
Okay. And how long does it usually take to replenish your inventory?
All in all, it takes about 1.5 months.
All right. That's not bad at all. And how often would you say you're in contact with your suppliers?
I speak to them about once every 3 weeks.
Okay. And for your specific category of products, have you done any product development with them?
I've done a little bit of product development, yes, to help develop the product because, of course, I was selling a lot of units, which in turn brings back a lot of feedback. So I was feeding that information back to my manufacturer to then improve their product for me, basically.
That's excellent. And how would you say that you differentiate yourself from your competitors?
One of the main ways I differentiate myself is I display and portray my information in a more friendly and usable way than my competitors. That's for sure. And the other second way is I have created a really easy to use and to understand website and sales funnel, which converts really, really well. And also, I differentiate because I've spent a lot of time creating a brand. So I'm not just selling a product, I more sell my brand, and my brand helps sell the product.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a really good way to look at it as well. So, Dwayne, what does a typical week look like for you while you're running this business?
So a typical week is really, really quite straightforward. I wake up in the morning and I see if there's any customer emails. Over the course of a week, I'd say I only spend about 5 hours on this business. Yeah, that's over a week, if that, probably less than 5 hours. And that just mainly consists of just answering customer emails, any customer questions, and basically reordering stock. So I only reorder stock, as I mentioned, for once every 2 months. So that hardly takes any time. That's just a simple email to my supplier. And yeah, in terms of actually running the business, it's just 5 hours a week, even less on answering customer emails and queries. And that's about it, really. And sometime I'd say once a month, I then look at my Google Ads campaign and I might, try and optimize it here, there, wherever. But that's quite rare because it's running quite well. And I only, as I said, once a month, just look at it, just to check on it and just to make sure it's all running, as it should be.
Well, that sounds pretty straightforward and simplified. That being said, though, somebody coming into the business, taking it over, may face certain challenges. So, what do you think the biggest challenge would be for a buyer taking over this business?
The biggest challenge I'd say for a buyer taking over the business is maybe the customer service. I think that's the
Okay.
biggest challenge. But when I say it's the biggest challenge, because as I just mentioned, I only really spend less than 5 hours a week on it. But that's because I know the kind of questions that are always being asked. So there's only really about 4 or 5 different questions that all of my customers ask. And because I know this, I'm really quick at just replying them with like standard template emails. But somebody coming into the business, they would just have to understand these emails that I send out. That would be the biggest challenge because there's no challenge in actually running the ads, running the business. It's just doing the customer service side.
That makes a lot of sense now that you've said that. I think that's kind of true with most businesses or industries when you get into them in the beginning until you really get your footing, then it's a little bit more complicated than it is, a few weeks or months down the road. So, Dwayne, would you commit to a non compete for a new owner?
I would do
And how much support are you offering buyers?
whatever they need to get up and running.
And would you be open to negotiating some sort of deal structure like an earnout?
I would be, yes. I mean, it wouldn't be my first choice, but all offers are on the table. Yes, I would be open to listening to it, but again, it wouldn't be my first option.
Excellent. And if you're putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth buying?
Yes, I think this is a business worth buying, A, because it is more or less 95% hands off. 95% hands off. You don't really have to do too much apart from, as I said, just reply to a few emails. So it's really good for someone who wants a simple, well-run e-commerce business, which, makes good profit per month. Second thing is that it's a growing industry. So the revenues that I make go up month on month, and they've been going up, month on month, quarterly for, the last couple of years. And that's because the industry as a whole is growing. So so that's a big opportunity there. And the third reason why it's a good business is because, as I said, you can either expand to different markets and stuff, or you can even launch products within the same niche off the brand. So there's many different opportunities within this business.
Wonderful. I think that's an excellent note to leave off on. Dwayne, I really want to thank you for coming on today and giving us a little more insight into your business. It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your day to be here.
Thank you very much for your time as well. Pleasure speaking to you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 61675. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.